Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our Power Platform Christmas calendar. Another day, another tip around the Power Platform. And let me quickly share my screen for you, because today we are going to talk about the Power Platform Community Hub. And funny coincidence, I wanted to record this tip because I have not only the feeling, but the experience that not too many people know about the Power Platform Community Hub. And obviously, as you can see right here on my screen, I have the YouTube channel from the PowerCat team open just 4 days ago. I think it's 4 days. Yep, from the day that we are recording now. The PowerCat team decided to publish a video about the Power Platform Community Hub. So I thought maybe that's not a super secret tip anymore. But anyway, I watched the video and I liked the product, and I wanted to give you a few more insights around this product and show you a bit around. And hopefully this is useful for you, and you can see learn a little bit more than is in this video. I will put all the links as usual in the video description, also the video to this PowerCat video. Okay, and what this is about, a Power Platform Community Hub, is basically it's a SharePoint site collection. And I deployed it, and I wanted to show it to you because this is something that Microsoft provides as a template. And if you download and deploy this template, you will get a whole bunch of sites that are connected and that can educate your users around Power Platform in your organization. I deployed it to a demo tenant that we have, and want you to quickly go through each section, what's in there. So at first we have the starting page here, where you have some quotes around success stories of Power Platform in your organization, maybe, or champion of the week, as well as events. So far, nothing special. This is what most SharePoints can do, SharePoint communication sites, that is. And quick tour through the navigation. When we click on Getting Started, we can see what we have inside. We have those sections: Help and Learning, Power Platform Add, and this is ASG Studio. This is the name of our demo tenant, News and Success Stories, and Events. If I go through Help and Learning here, the first thing that we see, and I should say this right now, all of this, as you can see, is coming right out of the box. I've done nothing so far with it, so this is the blank template that we get. On Guided Learning, we can see links to the Power Platform learning path on Microsoft Learn, and they are divided through beginner, intermediate, and advanced, which I think is really helpful if you got users who are new to Power Platform and want to see, okay, where can I get the latest documentation and the latest instruction sites. Then Microsoft Learn is the one that is usually most up to date and usually far more updated than some resources you have created yourself in your own organization. And this is really helpful. So as you can see from the URL, this directly goes to the Power Platform learning path from Microsoft. This is really interesting. You can also put in your own links for training events or something like everything that you have. You can customize this SharePoint as you like, but a lot of the stuff comes out of the box from Microsoft. You also have a chapter for consultation and development. That is, if you have an in-house development section or some IT service that helps the users to create Power Platforms or to develop Power Platform solutions like apps and flows, then you can link that here, and you can even integrate the classic ticketing system if you have one. We have internal communities where you can link your internal Power Platform communities, and I really hope you have some, whether it be on Teams or Yammer or whatever. This link to Yammer is integrated from the start. I don't have a Yammer community here, so this is empty. And also we have a site for support, where you can link your organizational support team or ticketing system or whatever you have. So this is more or less one place for users to go to have all the information that you need around Power Platform at one single place, which is really helpful for most users. Now this year, the Power Platform at ASG Studio is more or less the heart of the SharePoint site collection here, where you can see you have those chapters or sites: environments, DLPs, moving resources, and requesting a premium license. And this is really everything that you should consider communicate towards your users, because usually your users can't see every environment, and then the user might you're wondering what kind of environments do we have and how do we use them here at our organization. And all of this demo text that you have basically gives you a good idea of how to structure the information towards your user. What's the purpose of environments? What are environments? Here, once again, a link to the documentation so that if user wants to educate themselves a little bit further, then it goes through personal productivity, and they make an approach like you could divide your environments for power users and custom environments and Dataverse for Teams environments. They have a lot of information in here already, and you don't have to write it yourself, and you can just use it. We have a few templates or those parts where you can insert your own information, of course, and you can alter the text as you like. Once again, this is a basic SharePoint site collection that you can customize the way you know it already. But it's really important to educate your users about the environments that you have and about the data loss prevention policies. Because sometimes if a user or let's say a team of Power Platform developers or citizen developer want to create something new, something that is usually forbidden by your data loss prevention policies, they will need a custom environment for a certain amount of time. And with that, also a certain data loss prevention policy to just make this environment really useful for their projects. Another section that I really like is moving resources. And this is basically how does ALM work in your organization, because there are many different possibilities to have an ALM approach. You can use the Power Platform CLI or the managed environments and the inbuilt pipelines. And basically here you can describe what ALM is and how it works in your organization. Requesting a premium license is also very valuable information for most users, because I don't know any organization that said, okay, we get premium license for all our users. Of course, I guess this is Microsoft's dream to really buy a premium license for every user that you have, but usually that's not the case. And quite often there is a process behind it. If I work in an organization and I really want a premium license, I have to follow certain steps, for example. And this is a placeholder site for you to explain how this works in your organization. We have a little bit more this new success stories sites where you can come up with success stories, and this is the one that you've seen on the starting side. Of course, when you create a new success story or a new one of those stories, SharePoint usually displays them on the starting side. That makes sense if you have a bigger organization and you have some success stories and really want to push the adoption and the utilization of the platform, as well as Champion of the Week. It's another interesting thing coming from change management, where you, when you have lots of Power Platform users, you can nominate a Champion of the Week and say a little bit about their story. If we click on that, we have a nice template introducing the user themselves, and then share your Power Platform journey, what you found challenging, for example. Then you can display a certain app or Power Automate Flow or whatever this Power Platform project was, and give useful tips to other users that are starting out. The same goes here for events. You can create hackathons and come up with office hours where user can get help. Not all organizations are using hackathons, but if you do, then you here have a template site how to publish them and how to communicate them to your users. So all in all, I think this is a really valuable template that takes a lot of work from your shoulders, and you can just fill in your details around your organization. And how this whole thing works, there's a documentation from Microsoft. Let me scroll to the top. Create an internal Microsoft Power Platform Hub. And the idea here is that you don't just copy those SharePoint pages and sites and paste them into your SharePoint, but this is a PowerShell hub. And if you have followed our videos during December, then you might recognize that I talked a little bit about PowerShell. So this kind of ties in to what I told you before. And this is a kind of a long documentation, because this this deployment here with PowerShell is a little bit more complex than what we've done the last time. First of all, you need to download the assets, and those assets are basically hosted on GitHub. If you click on download, the download starts automatically and downloads 2 PowerShell files. that you can just use with the PowerShell or with an ISE. I've used those in the last videos, and I will show you this with this example as well. So let's download these real quick. Power Platform Hub zip, that starts automatically. Very good. Another few prerequisites, we will need to have installed the Microsoft.powerapps.administration.powershell module, and we installed that already in the last video or in the video before. And we also need the PnP PowerShell module. This one, again, is hosted in the PowerShell gallery, so we can just download it just as the other modules that we've downloaded before. And what we get then are two PowerShell files. They are called deploy Power Platform Hub.ps1, and the other one has a longer name, but I will tell you in a minute. When we open these, and let me just see, where do I have them? Somewhere here. Let me just extract those, and then we can have a look inside and see how they look. I'm extracting those real quick. And this is what we get. Let me make that a little bit smaller so that I can see it on one screen. So this is what comes if you click on download in the documentation. And what it's more or less about is the deployed Power Platform Hub file and this one here as well. I will open this now in, let me open this with PowerShell ISE. I will quickly run this as administrator. And now we wait, it's starting. Of course, it opened in another screen. Let me just bring that over here. And what I can do now, I will just drag and drop this in my scripting pane. And here we see the whole script. So this is a long script, and it can be a little bit scary, but what it's usually all about is the upper part here. Those are the variables that we will set in the beginning that are used through this script. And I think it's most easy if we can have a look together in the documentation, because here are those variables as well, and it says what you need to fill in here. For example, the variable admin tenant name, it's explained down here. This is the name of your SharePoint root site that you need to put in. And just let me give you a quick reference for that. If you have your SharePoint URL, it usually has, this is the root site. So everything that is before the .sharepoint.com, this is your root site. You can just copy paste that and paste that into your ISE, where it says here, Contoso, and put that in there. You do very much the same thing for the admin URL. And you can see here is a variable admin tenant name that get just put in there. And this is something that you've set already in the line before. So this line is fine. You don't have to change anything here. Company name, that is your company name. And if we go back to our SharePoint to see where we can see that, for example, here, Power Platform at your organization name. Our organization is called ASG Studio, so this is what we can see here. Whatever you put in here in this variable will be displayed on your SharePoint site. The LCID, is basically the language code. And if you don't know your language code, here in the explanation, we have a link. And if we click on that, it's difficult for me to click on there. Here we go. You will come to this site, and here you can see a list with all the language codes. I usually prefer German or English, but all the other language codes that Microsoft provides are in here as well. Just type in the number that you can use. The next line is good as well, because the variable admin tenant name, we already set that in the first line. We can provide our administrational email here. That is basically the email of the Power Platform administrator. This one is good as well. We don't have to change anything here either. This one, Power Platform communication site, is the site title that you want for your Power Platform communication site. I usually leave that as it is because it's just okay. And Power Platform communication site is a good name for a SharePoint site around Power Platform. And the last one is the time zone. And the time zone, I usually found a little bit tricky to fill it out, but luckily there is someone, Paul Bullock, and he has a really nice blog where he has all those SharePoint time zone IDs, where you can see time zone 2 would be Greenwich Mean Time, Dublin, Edinburgh, Lisbon, London, basically UTC, and that's what you can see here in the documentation. If you live in a different time zone, just check your time zone, copy this ID outside here, and put it in the variable. Then you're very much good to go. The second PowerShell script that you get, or the file that you get, in the name, it says Power Platform Hub as DLP error settings. So it's a little bit cryptic, but what this basically does is it customizes your DLP error message. And if you followed our videos, we did this in the last video. Basically, you can provide a SharePoint site URL where you provide more information about the Power Platform. And now what this does, it links this Power Platform Community Hub to the error message to the error DLP message, as well as the support email. This is the administrator email or some kind of email that users can help if they can click when they need help with Power Platform. And in the last variable, you set in your tenant ID. Now, you don't have to fill this out if you followed our last video and already customized your SharePoint, not your Power Platform DLP error message content. Then you just need to customize this first one here, and then you run the script as I showed you before with this little button here. I won't do that because the script is already and the SharePoint is already deployed on my tenant as I showed you before, already deployed, and this takes about 15 to 20 minutes. So patience is the secret ingredients here. And then there is a little bit of more information around troubleshooting and testing if everything was successful. I usually check my SharePoint home site to see if I have a new SharePoint site collection, and if I find a new SharePoint site collection that is called Power Platform Hub, then this was successful. Here are a few things around troubleshooting. If you have any issues, check the documentation first. If you have further questions, you can just reach out to me. But I think this is a really valuable template that is deployed rather quickly, 15 to 20 minutes, and just a couple of variables to set at the very beginning. And then you have a very nice SharePoint site filled with a lot of content already that you can customize as you like. And maybe a little bit of a bonus tip, because this one is more or less the link between the technical setting of the Power Platform in your tenant and the communication to your users. The good thing is, the more you communicate to your users around Power Platform, the less tickets you get with questions. So I usually recommend to communicate a lot. And if you have an HR department or a community department that helps you with that, they can really support you there. And if they need some kind of support from you, another link I will put in the video description is the Power Platform Adoption Hub. That is something from Microsoft that not many people know. There is an adoption workbook, which is a long PDF that guides you through a process how to promote the Power Platform in your organization, and also a nice link collection with the best practices here. And if you click on that, that's really interesting. There is a whole Microsoft documentation around Power Platform guidance, where you can see the documentation regarding the Center of Excellence Starter Kit, the Creator Kit, but also adoption best practices. And those are really good and often not valued enough. We have a few more here: Power Apps guidance, Power Automate guidance, and if we just click on that, Power App Patterns, for example, is something that when citizen developer or people without technical background start to create and deploy and develop the first apps, it can be a little bit overwhelming of how an app is or should be structured. But usually most apps follow a distinct pattern. For example, there are apps that really care about approvals or asset management, some kind of calculation and transformation. And then Microsoft put in a lot of documentation basically around those kind of patterns that are found in most apps. And additionally, they put in customer stories with real-life examples how other companies use this kind of pattern in what kind of an app and how it can look. And this is really, really valuable information for people who didn't learn at school, for example, how app development works. And if you just click through the documentation, you can see Power Platform planning a Power Apps project, for example. So how does a typical development project usually work with Power Platform? The whole thing, not only for Power Apps, but also for Power Automate, Power BI, Power Virtual Agents. Okay, I think this one will get a rebranding to the Power Platform Copilot Studio, for Power Pages as well. And basically, this whole documentation collection is really valuable, even for more advanced Power Platform developer and people working with Power Platform. So this Power Platform Adoption Hub is really something that I haven't seen used that often, but it's full with good information, and it's you can learn a lot from that when you are done more or less with the technical settings for Power Platform. Now it's about to communicate to your users, to your makers, around what's possible with Power Platform. Use the hub, use the adoption framework, and then it's more or less a piece of cake. If you have further questions, once again, don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, or write me an email or find my blog, whatever. I hope this was valuable, and I hope this gives a little bit more information and background information than the video from the PowerCat team provides, although they are great. Maybe the last tip from me from today is find the YouTube channel from the PowerCat team and subscribe to them. They make really good videos, and also you can reach out to them via the social media sites. And yeah, they are always happy to help, just as we. And that's it from my side from today.